I'm Ben Rowell, the owner of Benjamin Franklin Plumbing of Northwest Arkansas.
Let's go.
My family, you know my little sister Sarah. You know my parents really well. Yep. They're an instrumental part of how you got here to Chicago, if I remember correctly.
It's true.
And so you've seen my parents in action and how they live their life. That really did not change. As a kid growing up, I was so used to having international students in my home. I was so used to having a really nurturing mom who loved to host, and we had neighborhood kids in our house all the time. So what you see like as a picture, like my dad, this very like steady man who's very stoic but very, very thoughtful in how he talks and what he thinks about, and that really was how I was raised. And so I think I'm a good blend of my mom and my dad. Probably doesn't, I'm a little bit of a smooth brain. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I have parents who've at least helped me think, or learn how to think critically or be thoughtful about things. And the way they talk to you is the way they talk to me. And so what you have seen, you're basically just a son of theirs too. Like they see all of these college students as just people that need a family. And that really played into my life as my wife and I were about 7 years into marriage. We had just had our son Everett was 2 at the time. Okay. And we had always had this like feeling that we needed to help in our community somehow. And we'd seen some friends that had been foster parents, and we had talked about it openly, just saying, hey, what if, our pregnancy doesn't go well? It was a hard first one, and if we had a second one, it may not go very well. It was high risk. And so we'd started exploring this avenue of foster care, adoption, and a lot of that was really easy for me to come through. And I came by it honestly, like because my mom just always felt like the home that we lived in was essentially like a landing pad for any kid. And so it's like an easy thing for me to think, it's like, yeah, we could do that. That's no problem. And fast forward, after we began to foster, we ultimately were doing just emergency placements and respite care. And we officially came online in September of 21. And by March of 22, we had 31 kids through our home. And so, it was a lot.
For like a day or two at a time?
It'd be about, the most we'd see is about 4 days.
Okay.
And it's about 50% respite, 50% emergency placements.
Okay.
And one of the things that happened there towards the end was we had one of the foster kiddos ultimately end up at our home, and then was only going to be a very short period of time. But what ended up happening was the home began to go under investigation. Some allegations came up and some things, so they ended up just making her stay with us long term, and then the house I think eventually closed. And so she was left without a place to go, and she was 17, and kind of one of those things where we just began to kind of coach her and guide her, thinking that she wasn't going to be anyone that we were going to keep long term, and just said, hey, do you have any family or anybody that you might be interested in having us talk to make sure that you can get somewhere? What's your plan? She's like, I don't have any family. I just want to age out of the foster care system. And we're like, oh man. And so Hallie and I, my wife, we began just talking about that and asking the question, what does it look like for us to do that? We've talked about this thing. Is that something that we should be praying about, considering? I know she's older, but everybody needs a family.
Right.
And so we just talked to her about it and said, Aurora, would you just pray? Maybe just think for a couple weeks. Like, what is it that you would like for us to do to help you get to where you want to go? She's like, yeah, okay, sounds good. So Hallie and I prayed through that time, those 2 weeks, and one Sunday night she just came back into our room and she's like, can I talk to y'all for a minute? Yeah, you can talk to us. What's going on? She's like, well, I think I finally decided I do want to get adopted. And we're like, oh yeah, that's great. Well, did you have a family in mind? I know you were at this family before and there's another family over here. She goes, no, I want you guys to adopt me.
Wow.
And so Hallie and I looked at each other and we said, Aurora, it would be our honor if you would be our daughter. And went through the channels and ended up September 27 was our gotcha day. And so ended up adopting her. And so now we have Everett, our oldest, he's 6. We have Aurora, and then we also have our youngest, Nolan, who's going to be 3. So, that all was kind of part of how I just saw people, and my worldview is shaped by my parents. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward to life, as a tumultuous teenager and just, being a knucklehead and not having a lot of cares in the world too. I didn't have a lot of ambition. I didn't think very far down the road in my life. I didn't have those clear visions that some people have. My now business partner, Scott, I think he was like 17 or 18 when he was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into accounting. I'm going to go to school for 4 years. I'm going to get done, and I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do the rest of my life.
Sure.
He just is just so clear, just laser focused. And I'm like, man, I really hope I get to go skateboard tomorrow and play Halo. It's like, that's all I could think about. It's like the next day, and had no clear vision for my life. So the one thing I do remember though is that my senior year, my dad was like, what are you going to do with life? It's like, I don't know. He's like, well, you should go to school because I teach there and it's going to be pretty much free. But you should also get into the trades and you should learn a skill because you never know when you get done with school if you're going to be able to get a job right away.
Right.
So he was telling me to do this as like a fallback. So I was like, cool, that's a great idea actually. So I took on welding of all things and ended up loving it. It's weird that I loved it as much as I did. And I ended up welding, ended up spending a lot of time in the welding shop with my head down, and all the other kids are just dorking around. They're just kind of there, like some kids made like drug paraphernalia all the time. One guy was making knives, like it was weird, It's just, he had all the weird kids were in welding, and I'm just like head down, welding all day, every day, dude. I wouldn't even look up, and then to be like there'd be stuff being thrown by my head, and like, kids are trying to shock each other. And I'm just like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah. And
so, I ended up passing my certs for shielded metal arc welding, so stick welding is what they traditionally call it, and 3 and 5G, different positions, so I could do pretty much anything. Went and finished that and then got my certification for MIG welding, and so I could use a spool welder, wire welder, you hear it called, and was like, there's my workforce, there it is, I can do that.
Wow.
And so did that for out of high school. It was horrific, dude. I got to be honest, like worked in a factory, and from like 4 to 4, I was basically just welding nonstop. And I was at the end of the assembly line. And so I had a certain role where I had to be inside of these giant compactors. They're basically industrial sized trash compactors. And the guys I worked for were miserable. The people I worked with were miserable. They were on drugs all the time. We never hit quotas, so I had to work like, an extra 10 to 12 hours a week. And it's just, just unbearable. Eventually didn't pan out. It was terrible. Started college though, and still wanted to kind of be in that industry, and had a friend that was like, hey, we need a fabricator. Can you come fabricate at our sign shop? I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I really started to do like a lot of fab work and just stayed kind of in that blue collar thing for most of my career, and so through high school, is welding, into college. While I was in school, I was working at a sign shop. I was kind of schlepping bikes there too, delivering pizzas, doing everything. But like really found that I woke up every day excited about work. It's so weird. Not many people get to do that and say that, right? I got to work with my hands. I got to work with my friend that like we had so much in common, and we just laugh about everything and had a good time. I got to do something completely different every day. And I learned that business inside and out, and eventually just kind of moved into management roles as time went on.
This is at the sign shop.
This is the sign shop, yeah. And so it taught me a lot about predominantly what I love to do, but also how not to do things, which is an interesting thing to think about. Because there are criticisms probably everywhere you work, but in particular, it just seemed like you are desperate for people all the time. And so you're just like a revolving door of like curmudgeons and just these cantankerous old rednecks that are, quote unquote, blue collar. And so I didn't like working with those people, but they always seem to get hired. And like the higher ups in the management team and like the president of the company, they didn't care. And that was kind of frustrating to me. It's like, God, why are you bringing these people in? And why can't we do something different about it? I was too young to really like articulate and understand and know business well enough to know those things can be fixed. Mm-hmm. But I left that company and moved to Northwest Arkansas because I was about to get married. And I took with me a lot of those learnings and went into more management roles there and learned how to be a little better at managing people, being part of the process.
Still in the trades when you moved?
Still in the sign industry. So I found another sign shop up here, worked it for a little bit, worked at another one where that was kind of the end of my career. They sold the company, and so I did not want to pursue that anymore. It's funny. During that whole time I moved to Northwest Arkansas and started to meet my wife's friends, they were all working at corporate jobs. And so you had a lot of people that worked, particularly for Walmart, particularly for Tyson Foods, J.B. Hunt, some of the largest companies in the world, largest logistics and trucking company in the world, the largest, producer of like poultry and Walmart, of course, we all know Walmart, right?
Right.
And all the vendors that support it.
Right. Because you have to have an office in Northwest Arkansas in order to sell to Walmart.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. They started that, this was like in 2000.
It's crazy.
6, I can't remember when.
Makes sense.
But like, I just thought, well, I mean, I've got a college degree. I'm fairly educated. I'd like to believe I'm pretty white collar as a person. Like I grew up with, my parents are educators.
What is your college degree in?
Digital filmmaking.
Nice. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, went for a 4-year degree and knocked it out in 7.5.
Okay.
And have so many hours and so many other things.
Nice. Okay.
It was basically full time that whole time I was there.
Okay.
So it was like a lot of college.
Wow. Okay.
So.
Nice. But you were saying about wanting to be or thinking of yourself as a white collar.
And I was just looking at my friends, and I wasn't like looking at them as like less than me. Mm-hmm. I was just thinking like, well, they were very similar people. They got in and they're moving up and they're doing really good and had successful roles, and I was like, I could do that, and I could provide for my family at corporate America, and that's what I want to do. And I think I started in 2015 applying for roles, and I had over a dozen interviews in both the consumer packaged good world, like Walmart and their vendors, a couple at J.B. Hunt, none at Tyson, but I think I had over a dozen within like 2 years. And this is with the help of the guy who at the time was the director of HR. And he was like, here's how you need to approach this. This is the skills we're looking for. This is the person that's going to be, that'll be interviewing you. Here's what you should say. Here's what you need to do. So I was like, oh, I got this. It's like, so there's one thing I can do. It's like, it's really good with people. So I've got this. And every time it was like, yeah, we're going to move in a different position. Thanks for applying. And they'd send me down the road. We should apply for this role. You might like it. And it might be a good fit. And it never was.
Wow.
So I was very, from like 15 to like probably 17, 18, I was like really dejected. I just couldn't get into corporate America. It's where I thought I wanted to be. And I was just like getting mad at God, like, God, I need a breakthrough. You don't get paid a lot in the sign shop. My wife's about to finish up with school and she's going to be a teacher, and like we're just living off of rice and beans almost weekly, and just being flat broke. And I was like, there's got to be like a breakthrough, and I don't know what it is. So fast forward, the company sells. I don't want to pursue this anymore. At the time, the bike world was blowing up in Northwest Arkansas. This is really at the height of like all of those things we talked about with biking.
Right.
And I'm talking to a friend of mine from church. He's a mentor. He's like, you got to meet this guy. You got to talk to this guy named Ryan. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, was he work for like Specialized? Has he worked for one of the bike industry people? Is he is he working for some of the trail building companies? And he goes, I don't really know what he does, but he's in the bike industry doing something. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, great. So I ended up calling him, and it took him like 3 months to get back to me. And I learned that he was a consultant working on these bike infrastructure projects for both Northwest Arkansas, but also in other cities. So he was working directly with elected officials, city staff, parks and rec departments, anybody who would be responsible for activating bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. And he cut his teeth at the Walton Family Foundation, bringing online all of the mountain biking trails that you see today. And I was like, well, that's actually pretty neat.
That's crazy.
That sounds cool. And it was white collar enough and felt like there's enough upward mobility that it would kind of scratch the itch that I needed, but also in the bike industry. As time went on, though, what I learned was that I had a very hard time in the white collar world. I really didn't feel like I was a good fit. I think one was a lot of it had to do with just authenticity. I always needed to be polished. I needed to have a lot of acumen when it came to a great many things that weren't directly attributed to the infrastructure projects in and of themselves. It was like, how do you play the corporate game? How do you play the political game?
Yeah.
And all that stuff seems so very like foreign to me. And I didn't do well, I didn't thrive. And ended up, not making it into that company. Was let go in October 16th, 2022. I remember that. What's interesting about that though is the whole time I'd just been like banging my head against the wall going, I'm put in this sales role. I've always been good at sales. I've always been good at talking to people. And it's just met with opposition at every turn and difficulty and struggle. And it was so funny to me because I had basically about a year where I could just determine what I wanted to do. And at that time, my now business partner, he and his wife, they had moved back from being overseas for a very long time. And he said, I don't know what we're going to do, Ben, but we're going to do something together and it's going to be awesome. And I was like, cool, you tell me, because I'm looking all over the place. I'm trying to interview more with these corporate teams again. And through that process, and it took a long time. I think it was basically June of the following year that I had finally determined something that we wanted to do. And it was thanks to my business partner, Scott. And he said, hey, have you ever thought about like the trades? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, like plumbing and stuff and like doing things inside of a home. Like we could vertically integrate and start a company. Like I can help you. I'd love to be your CFO. Like we can figure out something we can do together. And I'm like, actually, that does sound kind of cool because it's recession proof.
Right. Absolutely.
It's kind of back in the trades that I at least know that stuff. But I told him, I was like, I'm not the guy to lead companies. I don't think, man. I don't think I have the confidence to do this. He's like, we can do it, man. I'm telling you, I can help you and we can do it.
Wow.
And so just after a long time of praying together and just thinking strategically, we ended up vetting a handful of companies. One of those ended up being Benjamin Franklin Plumbing that we felt the most at peace with. Like the peace we got from talking with other franchise owners about their experience, about just, it was so cool. It was like a God thing. Like 4 of the 5 people that I called to validate, they were like believers.
Wow.
And they weren't plumbers.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, okay. So it's possible then. And gave me a lot of confidence that I could go and do this thing, and it worked out really well for me. So I ended up just with that excitement and that encouragement from them, just going like, I think this is the right move. Let's do it, And so fast forward to October 16th, 2023, a year to the day that I was let go.
Yeah.
We opened our first day of business at Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. And as soon as I opened the doors and I like looked in at this empty room, I had like no plumbers yet. I had one guy, and I had my office manager. And immediately God was like, Ben, this is what you're designed for. And I was like, oh man, you're right. This is not where I thought I'd be, but it came full circle where he finally was letting me live out this, almost the same experience of Jonah, where he was running away from God, saying like, I'm not going to Nineveh. I'm not going to go there because I know those people. They're terrifying. I hate it. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm going to go as far the other direction as I can and run. And it took him being in that fish for 3 days and then realizing coming up on dry land, like, I guess I am going to Nineveh. And went in and completely just changed Nineveh, right? Like there's repentance, there's celebration of God. And that was like, it was so clear to me that was my journey too. And I began to embrace this blue collar thing. And I began to just be okay with it. Where at one point I thought it was just this, this like thing you don't want to be. You don't want to be a blue collar worker. It's seen as like a bad thing. Oh, blue collar industry. Those are for the people who didn't make it through college and couldn't cut it in high school and didn't have the good grades and didn't come from a good background. And I'm sitting here now like, okay, this is what I want to do. And this is who I was purpose built for. And God has given me favor. And I'll say this, you know my dad, my mom. One of the refrains in the home was, God has given me favor in given over to me like the Muslims and specifically Iranians to be a blessing to. Like those are my people group that's unreached that I'm going into, and that's who God has called me to. It's very clear. Like when you talk to my dad, it's like this is the clearest thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I had always had that in the back of my mind, and I thought, well, it's in Ukraine. Go to Ukraine. Didn't feel right. Spin up and go to Brazil. Go there twice. Didn't feel right. Go to India. Didn't feel right. And you just travel all around the world trying to experience like who God has planned for you to reach out to. And in that moment of sitting in that room, it was this idea that like, okay, yeah, this is my Nineveh, but then two, like this is my unreached people group that we think is like reached. And we talk about it from an evangelical standpoint. Well, there are like, 2 churches on every corner in Arkansas, as you know. And so they have to be reached. And the reality is they're actually not. There aren't very many blue collar people that I know that are reached and are, because they are seen as the dregs of society. And so they don't usually have a church. There's usually a lot of trauma and drugs and addiction problems and divorce and alcoholism and bad, rap for how their work and employment has gone historically. And so they're oftentimes overlooked in culture, especially in the South, and just seen as like these people that they can't be helped.
Yeah, well.
And so I have seen it and gone, I'm gonna use this company to fundamentally change and create human flourishing once again in the trades.
Wow. So
that's at the heart of all of this. It was like, what am I good at? What's God gifted me with? And then how can I steward it to impact the kingdom? And so it did all of those things kind of it just took me 15 years running away from it to realize it.
Wow. And so when you talk about running away, would you, just to clarify that, you're describing maybe your initial brush with the trades in high school, college, that welding thing, and then realizing like, oh, okay, like I really liked this, but then kind of almost looking at everybody around you and going, I don't know if I fit here, and then God drawing you back to that. Is that kind of how you would describe when you're using the story of Jonah and Nineveh and all that stuff? Is that what you're thinking of, that arc?
Yes. Okay. Yes. It very much was, I'm better than this.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
I'm elite and I'm better than them.
Right.
And I am not one of them because of my education and my background and my family. And I'm not from a blue collar family. We're all educators. That was my primary family, was all education.
Yeah.
So I just was like, I don't have anything in common with these people.
Right.
The thread, what makes it so interesting, and it took me a while to realize this, was I would call it a spiritual gift, where I can instantly build rapport and bridges with blue collar people, where they just gain loyalty and trust so quickly. And it's not like that for everybody, I don't think. And I don't realize it because to me it's second nature. But I have a great time with blue collar people. I have more fun with the people I work with because we're loose and casual and have a good time. But they know explicitly that at the end of the day, like, I'm going to care for them deeply in a way that they have never seen before. They're going to get out of me like the highest level of production because that's what they demand. And in turn, the output is like 10x what everybody else would get from them.
Wow.
But yeah, like being heard, being seen, being felt is something so foreign to the trades industry, and has been for a long time. And also having a belief in them that they can actually have a career that is noble, like nobility can be wrapped up in your work, and you can take pride in it, and it's not something that's seen as less than.
Wow. Yeah, I can see how that would be if the industry as it stands right now has been so divorced from that mentality for so long. I can see how someone coming in like yourself and spinning a different narrative or just speaking over these guys something different. Any of your employees, for that matter, is like that could be like rocket fuel for, any kind of business in that world. It seems to me, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the impact of having a partner. Obviously, you spoke to his words that he spoke to you and encouraging you to, like, you can do this, Ben, even when you don't think, maybe you're cut out for leadership or owning a company or being this entrepreneur. Obviously, he has complementary skills to you, it sounds like.
Yes.
Like you're the people, maybe more people, I don't know this guy, but it sounds like you're very good with the interpersonal side of things. He has the systems thinking, the knowing, being an accountant myself, I'm just guessing on his skill set, but the systems, the financial, the analytical stuff. Tell me more about how, like, would it have happened without a partner, or how essential is that in your story? And what has your experience been with it, I suppose?
Oh man, I would not have even entertained the thought of owning something on my own without him. Okay. His name's Scott, Scott Lacey. Scott is very, very bright. And what the acumen and the level of analytics that he brings into the business is unprecedented. And I say that, and that's just the technical things that Scott's good at. What Scott and I have, though, is years and years, 20 plus years of friendship.
Wow, okay.
What's really cool, you'll like this. In high school, he jumped into our youth group. And, he was 17, 18, and really just begun to just take on leadership roles, even while in high school. And my dad knew that, I believe they met after he had committed to UCA, and we'd gone on some mission trips together. My dad went on one with me to Arizona. Scott was my small group leader. Wow. And so was in Arizona, and I think had a really great conversation with my dad and just kind of hit it off. And so through the years of college, Scott was being discipled by my dad. Wow. And then Scott was discipling me. He's a little older than I am. That's amazing. So it's kind of cool to see that legacy. But we've just remained friends ever since. And nobody's been like in my corner more than him.
Wow.
And so for him just to know the loyalty that Scott has to seeing it succeed is directly tied to me as a person and wanting me to succeed, and him too. I want him to succeed in everything he does. And so just mutually, it's just made us a really great group, or like I guess a duo, a dynamic duo is a funny way to put it, but
partnership. Yeah.
He has completely complementary skills, and I would tell anybody, don't find a partner who's just like you. You'll never get anything done. You need to find somebody who's going to fill in all the gaps of the things you don't have, and that takes being honest with yourself. Like, what are the things I'm not good at? And the sooner you can take an inventory of that, and the sooner you can realize that those are the things that you're not good at, don't even try. Yeah. It's not going to work. It's just going to make life harder, and you're going to get more frustrated. So find a partner who has all of those other skills that you don't have, and it becomes a more clear picture of like one unified business model. And so, like I didn't even know how to begin to look at like loans. I didn't know how to, financially model the business out. I didn't know how to put money in certain places. He's always like my backstop. I'm like, hey, I have this idea. Like, what do I do? He'd look at it and go, well, here are your options. You have this much cash. If you did it A, you would get this result B. If you put it here and did this, you'd pay down this or get rid of that, and this would cause this to happen. And he's just very good at looking at that system to help me make really clear decisions. And so our decision making actually is probably higher and better and faster than most people in our industry, because I get real-time data from a guy who knows this stuff like the back of his hand. So the cool part is having him as a partner has actually saved us like more than one time. And almost literally we lost almost everything back in March. We had a big, issue with Google. We had some stuff where we got shut down, and if 80% of your traffic's driven by demand calls through Google, through LSA, through your PPC, you've effectively lost 80% of your revenue.
Wow.
So he basically pulled the alarm, fixed, put a strategy in place where we were able to pay down what we needed to do. We had to max lines of credit out. We had to do all this stuff, but without him being like, this is what the next step needs to do. This is what you have to do next. This is how you do it next. We wouldn't have even made it that far, and we would have closed our doors. On the other side of that was the hardest time of my entire life. But to have him there, I got through it.
Wow. Yeah.
Where I would not have, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if he wasn't there helping me, I would not have gotten through that time.
Wow.
So having a partner is crucial, but having the right partner who believes in you and has your best interest in mind, who has complementary skill sets, it's an unbeatable partnership. And he loves the Lord. And so he knows, like, our mission, we're going to be profitable, we're going to make money. That's good. I think that's okay. But primary importance is that this is a kingdom-minded organization.
Yeah.
That's what's most important. And so even if, and he told me this one time, he said, even if like one person hears the name of Jesus, is fundamentally changed by this whole business, and then the whole thing goes under, we get sued tomorrow and lose everything.
Right.
He's like, it was worth it.
Wow.
It was worth it.
Wow.
And so when you live in that, it's a lot easier to walk through the business with your head up and walk through the business knowing, like, you can as John Eldredge calls it, benevolently detach. You can find benevolent detachment in giving everything and everyone to Jesus. And then you walk through this business going, like, whatever happens, doesn't matter.
Wow.
You've impacted the kingdom, or you are creating a kingdom impact.
Right.
And in those moments that it was open, the gospel went forward. So
that's fantastic.
It's kind of nice gives you a lot of like pressure. The pressure's off.
Right.
There's not, now I'm not saying I don't put the gas down and we go.
Right.
We do that. We're a business. This is what we do.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I do what I can to the max that God's given me the gifts to do it. And even if it's not enough, or he had different plans, like, I'm okay. It's okay. That's fine.
There was an organization I was a part of when I was in high school, and they always used to say, "Duty is ours, results are God's." And there's the responsibility that we have to push to put the gas down, like you're saying, but then also, like, unless the Lord builds the business as well, just like unless the Lord builds the house, the laborers labor in vain. Unless the Lord builds the business, I think that's something that I've thought about recently too. As I've started my own company as well, is like, if the Lord's not in this, at the end of the day, He is the captain of this ship, and He can direct and lead in all the different ways. That's what I hear you saying, for sure. Tell me more about the challenge that you mentioned. I would assume, if I'm hearing you correctly, that would be probably what you'd identify as your greatest challenge so far in owning the business. If you have a different one, I'd love to hear about that too. But walk me through what that was like. Obviously, entrepreneurship as an emotional roller coaster. You've got weeks that can be, even day by day, speaking from experience myself, where one day you're, flying high and you're confident and you just made some traction, you feel like you're moving, and then other days the bottom falls out of everything you've been working on, and it's a real struggle. And so maybe speak to the challenge, what you took away from that, and you can take that anywhere you want, but then maybe some strategies that you would counsel other entrepreneurs in about maintaining balance in the midst of the inevitable roller coasters that we experience.
Yeah, my big takeaway from almost losing everything was, you can't shy away from hard decisions. they will only get worse if you don't make a decision. And I had to make a very hard decision. I had to let go 2 plumbers, to lay off our apprentice. I had to cut our office manager, who she would literally like do anything for me, down to like less than half time. Wow. And sell or currently move out of our existing building because it was just too expensive, and then begin to start cutting corners everywhere humanly possible. And so without making very hard cuts very quickly, and the pain that came with letting people go, the pain that came with having to move, the pain with having to every day look at the bank statement and seeing it just almost not have enough to pay people, and having to cut my salary to 0 for months was the hardest thing ever. But you have to make those hard decisions. And I had to, because there's a couple of reasons. One, I have a loan that would repossess everything I own and take it from me if I didn't see this through.
Wow.
And then 2, I had nowhere to go. Like it was like I can only move forward. So my hand was forced into that, like really, really like put headlong into this very hard situation. But what it does is it gives you the capacity to begin to find ways out. And you begin to think very critically about like where your money was that whole time. Like, how did you get in this situation? How do you never do it again? And you begin to be able to reverse engineer. And in those really painful times are the biggest learnings. And you have to be okay with that too. So as an entrepreneur, you can't shut down. You have to put an ear to, why was this as hard as it was? What did I do early on to make this so difficult for myself? And how can I never do it again? And so all the lessons you learn in those moments are so invaluable. And I have a mentor, extremely successful, owns this electrical company. They're gonna probably within the next 3 years do 100 million. Wow. I mean, just massive. And he lives 15 minutes down the road from me.
Arkansas based, I guess.
Arkansas based.
Just all in Arkansas, or other places?
Nope. Well? So he owns 11 other markets, or 11 markets total.
Okay.
And he's just, I respect him a lot, because not only has he been there, he's been through worse.
Yeah. Wow.
And one of the things he told me when I told him all this, I sat down, like it was 3 days after all this stuff happened, and he's just listening to me like this, and he just puts in his, he's just listening, and he goes, "Ben, I know things are tough for you right now. Don't freaking quit." And he said that like 10 times. He's like, "I don't care what happens. I don't care if you have to go another month without paying yourself. You'll figure it out. Do not freaking quit." And he just said it over and over again. And I'm like, why does that feel good? And you like leave motivated. And you're like, yeah, no, I won't quit.
Right.
I'm going to figure it out. Because that's what you do as an entrepreneur. And it was what I needed. And I woke up every day and I was like, this isn't going to fail. I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to keep going. And it's going to be okay. And God knew this was going to happen. And you start to live in that, and like this mantra just really starts to like fully like envelop itself around you of like, okay, it is a hard time. The doors aren't closed yet, so I'm not going to quit. And you just scrape out of the bottom of the pit, and you just climb, and claw your way out. And we're still clawing our way out because of how much we took on, in our debt load, and where we maxed out credit cards and maxed out lines of credit. Honestly, like feel better now than I did before that. And prior to that, we were by all accounts very successful. But one mistake, one little error, and it's tenuous, Being a small business owner for the first 3 to 5, 10 years, maybe even up to $10 million to $20 million. You're a small business, and you're on pendulous threads all the time.
Yeah. Wow. So before that, I think your dad has mentioned to me you got some kind of award, Rookie of the Year, at some point. Is that before or after what happened with the challenge that you just mentioned? Yeah.
So it's funny, like a franchise system, they give you kind of the expectations in year one.
Okay.
The expectation is you're going to have a truck. By the end of year one, you'll have 2. the expectation is they'll make $250K a year. So you're looking at between 250 and 400 of revenue, right, and not really profitability, sure, year one. I talked to Scott about that, and Scott, and I love Scott, man. He's the guy that keeps, like, he's a good thermostat, and he's always very conservative about, like, his approach to things. And he said, conservatively, Ben, I think we can do better. He says, I bet we could do 600K.
Yeah.
And then I brought a guy on, and he goes, I bet we could do 800K.
Wow.
And then and this was like eye-opening to me, because this guy didn't come in October. He came in January of 24. So October of 23 to like December, the end of December, it was a one-man show. Mm-hmm. Me, I had no plumbing experience. I'm running around selling jetter calls, sewer calls, because legally I can do those. Mm-hmm. Our master plumber's like not anywhere to be found. I don't know what happened to him. And just weird stuff just began to snowball.
Right.
But got this kid online, and he was just like, yeah, we could do 800. And I was like, really? You think so? He's like, yeah, we can do 800.
This is a plumber guy.
This is a plumber. He had scaled his family's business to 3.5 million in like a year.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, I think we can. And he's like, here's how we're going to do it. And he laid it out. And I looked at him and I was like, you really think so? He goes, yeah. So we fast forward that whole year, man, we just grinding and rolling and grinding and rolling. It was so fun. It was exciting. Just so much was happening all at once, and you could just see the steam. The hockey stick thing was starting to happen. I was like, wow, I think we have a chance. And Scott came up to me and he goes, are we going to win Rookie of the Year? And I'm like, I don't even know. Is that an award? He's like, yeah, Ben. Like, yeah, we can, like, Rookie of the Year is definitely a thing in the franchise system. And I was like, we're not. Like, there are other guys I knew that were like just crushing it. Mm-hmm. They were so successful, and they were such good operators. So everything, they're smarter than me, everything. And, fast forward to convention. I'll say, like, so we ended the year, October of 23 to October of 24. We didn't have one truck, we had 4. And we didn't have 2 plumbers, we had 5. Okay. And we had an ops manager, and we had me, and we had our office manager. And at the end of October, we wrapped up with $1.146 million. And so we were the first ever, Ben Franklin, that I'm aware of, that had ever crossed the $1 million line in their first year of operating.
Wow.
From a non-plumber.
Right.
And from a guy who'd never owned his own business. Yeah. And went to convention in February the next year, and went through the whole, here's our Rookie of the Year awards, and we're so excited, and just sitting there just tapping my fingers going, I don't think we're gonna get that. There's no way. And then the guy calls us up, Ben and Scott, you're Rookie of the Year. And it meant so much more to me than I thought. And I'm not a very award driven. I'm not really driven by awards. It doesn't do much for me. Yeah. Hitting goals. Mm-hmm. I'm driven by, am I doing the absolute best humanly possible? I'm driven by self-satisfaction in the work that I perform. And so it was good confirmation, I think, just that I built a team of people in a culture that is faith-based, and it can still do well financially and not be like a nonprofit business. So, but yeah, during that time too, we also won, we were the runner-up in the state of Arkansas for the Better Business Bureau's Torch Award for Ethics. Wow. So we won the runner-up for that. I took my parents as a +1. I fully expected. I thought it was. My mom was so thrilled. My dad too. He's proud of me. It's cool. I love my dad. Love my mom. Yeah. But I just look back to the days of playing baseball, little league ball, and her just standing up in the bleachers, swinging her arm and going, yeah, And I was fully expecting as soon as I walked up on that stage, her just getting out of her chair and be like, woo, yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, I can totally see you doing that too.
So I did have to tell her we got in the parking lot. I was like, Mom, please don't stand up and cheer. Okay. And then right before I got here, so I think Monday, I got a call. Cityscapes puts out the best of the best, and just found out that we are we got voted #1 plumbing company in NWA.
Wow.
And this is neat. I did not know that was a thing.
Okay.
I didn't ask anybody to vote for me.
Yeah.
So there was no blast campaigns or no drip campaigns to vote.
Wow.
It was honored that it happened organically. So it's kind of cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's neat. I'm hearing, I think in that first year story, obviously, it's interesting to see the contrast between first year and maybe when did the challenge, like the almost.
We got back from convention in like February 27th or something funny. And then like March 6th, like everything just fell off.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So the timing there is interesting, but I'm also hearing in that first year lessons would be like just a lesson. I mean, you already spoke to partnership and the value of people, but like it sounds like this other dude that came along was like rocket fuel for your company as well, just 100%. Based on his vision. You know, is he still working as a plumber, or is he the ops manager, or
no?
Like, okay.
No, he's our master plumber.
Okay.
So he's our license holder.
Okay. Gotcha.
And still though he's making a massive impact from a like an academic level though. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting about the trades is you in Arkansas, it's different in every state, but you have to go through an apprenticeship program.
Okay.
And it's put on by community colleges, and the program is fair to middling at best. It's not good.
Interesting.
And one of the things that he did that was really great was he's a teacher. He loves educating. He's very good at it. He stepped in as one of the professors that teaches in the program.
Wow.
And changed the curriculum. And that's probably good. For the better, because it used to be run by old timers that were just plumbers that were like, read the code book, we'll take tests at the end. You got to stay here for 2 hours. When 2 hours up, I'll let you sign out. Give me your on-the-job papers and leave. Yeah, it's kind of like that was it. Wow. So he was like, "This has got to change. It has to change. You can't do this to people, and their lives could be so much better." And so he has me come in, guest lecture, talk about as an owner, what are your expectations? What do you demand from people? How do you get there? What are the soft skills required to really be a standout plumber in this day and age? And he's in there teaching them all kinds of stuff, like the history of plumbing. It's like, thousands of years old, That's amazing. Like when was the first water heater ever built? And it turns out they're like almost 200 years old. Just interesting stuff that he's just like really pushing to implement and just talk about this stuff to instill a level of pride and history of like what it is that you're doing. But giving people like an opportunity to not just be working in a ditch for the rest of their life in a new construction job where you're getting paid peanuts and you do the same thing day in and day out with people that aren't that great.
It's amazing. It sounds. I mean, I'd love to double click into that, and we can get there eventually at some point. But the plumbing industry as a whole and learning more about that, it sounds like if you've got him on the front lines of the next generation of plumbers, I guess he's still working for you, but he's also doing that academically. I could imagine that would be, if it's local, even if it's not local, that could be really developing and promoting a pipeline for you for the next generation of, like, that's it seems like a very strategic move.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And two, it gives us more open, like the funnel is more, it's broader of people coming in. You're really narrow right now of who the talent that you're going to catch is coming in. But if you have a broader amount of talent that starts to understand all of these little things earlier in their careers, they begin to put some polish on this. So they begin to think strategically about, well, I actually don't want to be in a ditch all day. Actually, I hate all these, new construction jobs I'm doing. I need to learn how to sell. I need to learn how to speak with customers. And the guys, basically you're just opening yourself up to more opportunities to find good talent.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
Jim Collins, have you read Good to Great?
Yes, one of my favorite books.
Okay, it's great. I think this quote comes out of there. My CEO at the old firm that I used to work at, just finished at, he always used to say, our ability to grow is directly related to our ability to attract and retain the right people. And I hear that coming through in what you're saying.
100%.
Have you reflected on that in terms of
100%?
Yeah.
So I would tell you, and this I don't know who said this. There's been a couple of people they've attributed this saying to, but they've then debunked it. So I'm just going to say Michael Scott / Wayne Gretzky said it. Okay. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I look at a lot of different orgs in Northwest Arkansas, and I can see that. Either by virtue of not having a good culture, because they're hiring the greatest talent out of anywhere in the world. They literally, you can bring in the greatest talent on the planet from anywhere and work here, and often do, but then they move on. Why? Well, because the culture's not very good.
Sure.
Right? And you have hundreds of $1,000s brought in from McKinsey to come do these big business restructures, talk about culture and building mission, vision, values, and still yet you don't have it. And so that's my argument to say, if you can create a place where people want to be, then you will fundamentally grow your business and people will want to stay despite how hard things get.
Wow.
And this is what I tell every plumber that comes to work for me. I tell them this: I want you to be trained and be so good after you work here for a year that you could go anywhere in the world and be a plumber, but you love it so much you don't want to go.
That's incredible.
And every guy has come to me with like, I've been given an opportunity, and they're like, but I don't want to go. He's like, and a lot of guys are like, I'm not leaving. And I'm like, they're like, I love our office manager said, you're gonna have to kill me to get rid of me. So that's just, it's an indicator. It's an indicator that what we're doing is working. Now, our turnover only happens when I force somebody, when I have to fire somebody. Right. And it has to happen, by the way.
Right.
There's part of like protecting the culture where you have to be a shepherd.
Yes.
And you have to guard your flock. And it's really important for those people that do stay, that you get rid of the people that are cancer, because if you can't or don't, they'll leave too.
1,000%.
And so there's this other part of being an entrepreneur that's really hard, where you have to make those kind of decisions a lot. I've fired as many people as I've hired.
Yeah.
And will continue to do so.
Right.
And that's just part of this.
Yeah.
And it's not my favorite part. I don't know if anybody likes it.
Right.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. Like you have to guard that culture, and you have to give them a place that they love. What's so interesting is our pay is better than anywhere else. Our bonus, our like incentive structure otherwise is not great. Okay. I can't, being a small business is very hard to afford healthcare. It's very hard to afford medical, dental, just different things that they might want. So I've found the strategy is, and this is what I learned when I was here in Chicago too, is confirmation of this. What people of the younger generation truly want, is not more money, but more time. And if you can give them an opportunity to work 35, maybe 40 hours a week and still make as much money or more as if they were working 70 hours a week, they will stay for as long as you let them.
Wow.
And I'm very open, and this is a big part of like the kingdom mindset. And every person that works for me, I tell them this. I said, I want you to be just as successful and flourishing outside of work as you are inside of work, because I know that directly tied to your productivity is how things are going at home. And so I don't have all of those different nice benefit packages for you. What I do have is, as soon as your 90 days happens, you get 5 days of PTO. You get paternity leave, maternity leave if you want it. And you also get flexibility with your time. And so if you need to go and take care of something, I'll give you an example. I tell every one of my guys that have a family member, I say, listen, you're a dad. Your primary function in this world is to be their dad. And I will never let this company be a reason why you miss a ballet recital or miss a baseball game. Wow. And so anytime that comes up, that's your first priority. And guys love that, because that's what they want ultimately at the end of the day. And so we don't work, historically in plumbing, like guys worked like 7, 8, 9, 10 jobs a day, work until like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I tell them, like, you're going to work 4. You may work 5 if somebody's called in sick or something happens, but you're working 3 to 4. Yeah. And you'll make as much as you need on those 3 to 4, and you're going to have a great life outside of work. Wow. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And we inventory that stuff.
Yeah.
So, we have meetings, and every time I meet with a guy, we do our quarterly rocks, it's the EOS thing.
Okay.
And
one of the things, run on EOS?
A little bit.
Okay.
Like it's like EOS light,
nice.
is what I call it.
Okay.
But I do check on them. I run through something called the 4 F's.
Okay.
How's your faith? How's your finances? How's your family? How's your fitness/health?
Love it.
And I want them to be honest with me, because if they're lagging in any of those, it means that things will lag here. And so we monitor that pretty heavily.
I would say to double or to underscore what you said about culture and about firing people, how hard that is. But every single time it would happen, with the other firm again, I came out of very healthy, very, very unique in their culture. But every single time we let go of someone, which was frequent, I would say. And part of that was, there was a ton of growth with the company that we were in and, what have you as well. But I left every single moment for 90% of those, I think, with more respect for my boss because of his courage to make the hard decision for the rest of us. And it just made me want to stay more, and I think that's what I'm hearing you say is that's the counterintuitive truth of it, or that's the inconvenient truth of, you're afraid of all these ramifications of firing somebody, and everyone will get scared, or everyone will get, I don't know, it's an emotional toll on the whole team whenever somebody has to be let go. At least that's in my experience, being on the outside of that, on the employee side of that. But in the long term, once people have gotten the chance to take a week from it, or like a week later, or 2 weeks later, or a month later, and they start to realize our culture has been maintained, then they're like, it's just loyalty points on top of loyalty points for the business, I would say. Has that been your experience? Have you seen that at all or observed that?
Yeah. And there was a time when I had to make a critical decision of either letting one guy go or let another guy go, because it's kind of like equal terms.
Okay.
And I started you have to think strategically too about who's going to be better for your culture later on.
Sure.
And so you have to make the decisions. Yeah, you make hard decisions like that all the time that you agonize over. But yeah, the old adage, hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
And most of the guys that have found they kind of self-select.
Okay.
Most of the guys that haven't made it, the other people are very clear. It's interesting. There's a really good book. It's called Who, and it's by a guy named Jeff Smart.
Okay.
And it's just a book on hiring and retention and culture.
Okay.
And I think he pulled this from Reed Hastings' book about Netflix, and starting Netflix. But they would do this thing called the keeper test. And it was really, I love it because it's this super simple way of knowing if somebody's a good fit or will continue to work for you. And it's simply this: go to your employees that work with that person that's in question and go, hey, how hard would you fight to keep that person on the team? And he says that if even one person says, I don't know, they probably need to go.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like wild.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And so when we bring people on, we have a 2-week period of just, a trial period, we call it. And at the end of that, I'll make a phone call. Say, hey guys, how hard did you fight to keep that person on?
Wow.
And I used that and had to let a guy go. And it was one vote to the other 4 to do it. And it was like, oh, that hurts, because you're going to lose a guy that
you spent so much time trying to hire,
train. And then you ask yourself, did I make the right decision? And you lose sleep over that part too. You're like, did I do the right thing? Another guy had a pretty big flare up, and I called everybody. I was like, how hard did you keep this guy online? They're like, yeah, he's fine. He just had a big, it was just one time. It's okay. So I called him back in. I said, you're safe for now. Because I don't care. I don't work with you.
Right.
Like the people that you spend the time with in the ditch or under a crawl space or putting in water heaters, those are the people that care.
1,000%.
So I care what they care about.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, how would you leave, maybe as a final question for our time today, how would you leave a piece of advice for maybe someone who's on the edge of jumping off into their entrepreneurial journey, or trying to consider, maybe their hand is getting forced as well. I mean, it can happen in so many different ways. It sounds like from your story, doors started closing, other doors started opening, like there was, it wasn't as simple as just like, I'm gonna freely choose this. But thinking about all those different scenarios, thinking about your own journey, does anything come to mind that would be particularly helpful, you think, in the initial stages, having walked through it yourself?
When I talk to particularly people interested in Ben Franklin, my language is different. But if you were just broadly saying, hey, I'm interested in being an entrepreneur, whether my hand was forced or I just want to make a decision, and I have some analysis by paralysis, the analogy that comes to mind is when I think about Hernando de Soto and the Spanish Armada that came to South and Central America. As soon as they got on dry land, he turned around and looked at his team and he said, burn the boats. And the only way to get through this is to move forward. The only path forward is through it. And burn the boats. If you're going to do it, just do it and commit to it with everything, because you can't have your attention divided. You can't do it. And you have to know that if you force yourself into it, you will do it. You will always find a way to succeed. I burned the boats, man.
Yeah.
There is no safety net for me. There is no plan B. Burn the boats and just don't freaking quit. And if you can do those two things,
I love it.
You will be successful, because you will always be in that mindset of like finding a way.
Yeah.
And then you can no longer have analysis by paralysis. You have to make a decision. If it's a bad decision, pivot, learn very quickly. Don't do it again. If it's a good decision, codify it, put it as a standard operating procedure. This is how we do things going forward. It's that simple. It's simple. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur, but don't overcomplicate it, because like oftentimes you'll hear people, well, I'm thinking about doing this, I'm thinking about doing that. I don't know. And I get so impatient with that. I'm like, okay, go do it. Don't talk to me that you're going to do it. Just go do it. Burn the boats, man. Like that's it. And truthfully, like there was a lot of prayer that went into this. There was a lot of that. The other thing I'd tell people is just trust your gut. Like your gut is like a second brain. There's so much data out there that supports this.
Yep.
So get healthy, first of all, so that your gut works right. So take care of your body, because if you're drinking and you're just doing stupid stuff by staying up late at night, you're not out exercising and actually physically working your body into like beating it into submission, you're going to have a hard time making good decisions too, because you got brain fog and you've got like this fatigue and you've got like your gut's not firing like it should. But man, honestly, like God gave us a gut for a reason. And if you feel very strongly about something, like you feel it. And I've oftentimes started using that, like, okay, God, this happens, I get rid of this thing, do that to this thing, X, Y, Z. Or I go over here, I move this thing, I do that, I pull that knob, and this happens. And I start thinking about it, and my gut will immediately start to just like, I'll feel unease about one or the other.
Yep.
And then I'll think about one again, and I feel like there's nothing going on. I'm like, that must be the way to go. And so don't like, it's not pseudoscience, I don't think. It really, like, God gave us our bodies to do certain things and be in tune with creation and be in tune with Him. And so don't discount that either. So it's esoteric. It's weird to think that way, but I'm a little bit weird and esoteric anyway. So
I love it.
Good.
I love it. Ben, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.